Hey everybody, Mike McWilliams, Upstairs to the Right Music Channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to join in this Sunday evening, Sunday at Mike's. Whether you're watching this live, as I usually say, and I do mean it, whether you're watching this live or if you're watching this in the rerun, I do really appreciate you taking the time to do so. Time is a valuable commodity, and spending a little bit of yours with me is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much in advance. I tried out doing a live stream on Wednesday, this last. If you haven't seen it, go back and take a look at it. And it's working out pretty cool. I actually like it. So I think that's going to be a regular thing. I think I would do a Sunday night and Wednesday night live show from now on going forward. See how that does. As you know, we are really trying to build up the subscriptions on this channel. So if you haven't subscribed and you do like the contents of this channel, I think that it would be a great thing if you took the time to hit the subscription button and join the community. It's a great community that we're building here, and I think it's one that you're going to enjoy being part of. So please do so. Who do we have here? Let me make my usual adjustments so I can read the live stream. Ben's here. Good evening. Doing well, sir. Thank you so much. Denro's here. Again, from Athens, Georgia. Thank you so much for taking the time to show up. Hope all is well there. Dewey in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. Well, as we wait for the live stream to fill up, we will have a little conversation about some things, some minor things. Michael Watson's in the house. Hey, welcome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I really do appreciate you taking the time to step in on our live stream here, and hope you enjoy it tonight as much. This week, well, actually, you know, Sunday is kind of sacrosanct with me, where I make it a point where I try to do as little as possible. I'll do the grocery shopping, but that's about it. And generally, that's my media day. That's the day where I'll catch up on a movie, or I will listen to some music or read, do a little bit of study for the live stream, whatever. Today I found myself looking at a live, it wasn't live, but it was a live stream of the NAMM show that's going on currently, or just finished here. Or maybe it's still going on, but basically finished. And I was, the one thing that took me aback of the most was how empty it was. It looked a lot better than the last few years, the last at least 2 or 3 years in terms of vendors. The folks who did show up, they showed up with a little bit of style, looked okay. But in my heyday, back when I was living in LA and went to NAMM, that thing, you could barely walk around. It was like the way the old LA car show used to be when I was a kid. Oh, my father used to love to go to the car show every year in LA. And that thing was packed every day, day and night, you know, as long as the doors were open. And NAMM looked a little empty to me. That was the first thing. It may have been that day or when the time of day that the guy was filming it, but I don't know. And the other thing that I noticed from that was, again, like I said, people stepped up in terms of their displays. Certainly there was a lot of interesting articles for sale or for display that are coming up for sale. But all in all, I honestly have to say, it was just, again, it's striking me more and more as I get older how so much of that stuff looks like retreads of retreads. It's, you know, it's a brand new shiny package around the same old product, basically. Especially with pedals. I mean, there were some new pedals that were out for display there at NAMM that they're really pushing the envelope of getting that amp in a box thing all in one pedal. We know that recently with the Boss pedal that kind of has stepped in that direction, and that's actually a pedal that I have some slight interest in. I told you I'm not really interested in pedals, but the new Boss IR pedal was IR 200 is of interest to me because we're going to talk about my pedal board here tonight. That's why it's here next to me, and anyway, I'll get into that. And but there are a lot of vendors, pedal makers, who are really trying to cross over into that arena, the pedal in a box, and that's always encouraging. But even that, there's only so many Marshall emulations. There's only so many Fender Blackface emulations. Or as we say, dark face. I think is now the politically correct way of calling that. Doesn't offend me, but I got thick skin. And I really think that it's kind of spinning. It's kind of like in spin cycle. And those are, I guess, not the best positive observations I made from that damn footage. I saw a few others today. But that was basically my takeaways from it. So I don't know if you guys have been keeping up on the NAMM show. I know it's a really popular thing. Mickey, in the house. Welcome, sir. I know it's a really popular thing this week with a lot of YouTubers. KDH is down there. Hope you had a good time. And not so sunny Southern California in January. Actually, it looked okay. The weather was all right. But I think that some of the luster has fallen off of that event. I just think that NAMM has lost a little bit of its luster. I've said that before, but it kind of shows now. And again, with the small amount of people that were attending in the videos that I saw, and again, I saw 3, and in those 3, it basically, I don't know what time of days, they couldn't have been all the same time. It just seemed a little empty. Yeah, I've watched some NAMM videos on YouTube. Denver, what did you think? What were your impressions? I'd love to hear. Those are just my takeaways. Again, interesting stuff, but I'd say 90% of it is, like, as we say, a riff on a riff. And, and I think the Emperor is exposed for being, what he is. Glad I wasn't there. What, a trip to Southern California? In the winter? Yeah, what could go wrong? Even I, a native of Southern California, have no interest in going there in January. Yeah, so there was that. But I did see some interesting pedals, again, like I said. I'd rather walk around from here in my computer. Hey, from here to my deck is a lovely view of Amsterdam, so I feel you on that one. But with the Boss IR 200 pedal, it kind of got me thinking about pedals again. I'm slowly deciding whether or not I'm going to pursue playing live again. Certainly, again, I pointed out, living in Amsterdam, I am in the city for doing that. And I live, a 10-minute walk to Paradiso, maybe less. So certainly getting the gear there wouldn't be a problem. And speaking of, with that in mind, if I did start playing live again, there is no way that I'm going to do like I did with my band in Japan and lug amps and guitars, and my guitar case and my amp. And and the guitar case had a little flap. I put my one-piece pedal board in there. Mickey Newman, not even following them anymore. No interest in the same old stuff with new paint. Yeah, and again, like I said, a riff on a riff. Or, another way of saying that is same old stuff with new paint. Riff on a riff, same thing. Same. And I think that that with that in mind, and then looking at NAMM, I tie all these things together, I thought to myself, I'm getting older. I don't feel like carrying amps around. Although I have two very inexpensive and very nice amps that we'll talk about later too as well. And I really would want to just take a pedal board and a guitar with me. And that's it. So that I could run the pedal board through the house and achieve a sound that I'm familiar with and that I know how to work and sounds good. And I do believe amp in a box pedals are the solution to that. They really, if you don't want to get all-in-one modeler, if you like having the components based pedal board where you can switch things up, then and you want to play live, for me, I did that. I did that with I did sometimes I played with my amp, sometimes I played with a pedal board, all in one, Boss pedal board that went into the house. And once we did our sound check, got the levels where I want, I could still turn it up a little bit. I didn't want to go crazy, but I still had control, and I felt it was a good balance. So it always worked for me. So, and it was so much easier again to carry. So I'm still of mind of that. However, I don't like the all-in-one thing. I have it sitting over there. It doesn't work anymore. It burnt out. I'll have to get it out to Gies, my electronic guy, but he's actually gone on hiatus. He's decided to take a year off. So it's going to be another minute. That was 6 months ago, but it's still going to be another minute before I can get in touch with him and see what he can do. Yeah, Ben Allmark. I bought the Tonex pedal after getting sucked in by all the great reviews, but I'm going to return it. Too complex for this guy. Yeah, man. I was looking at that Tonex too. Boy, they were pushing that one, weren't they? They really were. So I got sucked in. And yeah, but I looked into it and I came to the same conclusion. I said, wow, this is a really something that I don't know if I want to dive into. I'm sure it's great, but not for me. Yeah, again, yeah, I'm sure it's great, but again, not for me either. This is the direction that I like to go because I like modular. And I like modular, again, because if one component fails in it, then you can just bypass that. Or a lot of these run on batteries, so if the power fails, you're still your power supply fails, you're still rocking. Or if I want to add a new sound or new pedal to it, I can do that as opposed to putting plugging whatever into my computer and uploading software, which is just something I don't want to do. And I'm a very tactile kind of guy. I like this, the turning of knobs and hitting of foot switches. And so so I got this wired up, and this is how it's looking. This is the Fender level set buffer. This is the pedal that I traded two pedals for. I really can't remember what the other. Thank you, Denro. I can't remember what the other one was, but anyway, I traded this another one for the Rat pedal. And I just found that I couldn't live without this. And so I went back and I said, hey, I know I traded two for this one, but will you just take this back and give me just one of those back? And of course he said, fine. Little bit of a lesson there for me in terms of that, but not a big loss. This would have been a bigger loss not to have. So this is, again, it's this load thing. This load button, again, it acts like, it gives you that same kind of boost that I got out of my EP3. That I have my real 1975 EP3. It gives me that thing. And there's been a couple of pedals that I've bought over time that are, again, gosh, what was that? There's the EP3 pedal. I had that one. I can't remember who puts that out. That was supposed to emulate that. And I actually did a video when I was living in Singapore, being that pedal with my EP3, and it just wasn't cutting it. It lifted, but it colored. whereas the EP3 lifted, but it was just your signal. It's the same thing with this. And that was the first thing that was missing. Again, the frequency knob here, being able to control. So I find this a lot useful in some circumstances than EQ, standard EQ. So there's that. Again, and the other cool thing, this has a separate output for your tuner, so you can always have your tuner on, running this into that. So it's a great thing to have that not in your signal chain. You guys know my made in LA clone copy, 1-for-1 copy of that. Great pedal. I really love this pedal, and I'm glad it's made it on my pedal board. The Joyo California Sound, you guys, everybody knows this pedal. This thing is one of the best one of the best Mesa Boogie Mark III emulations in it that I've heard. You can really get Santana tones out of this thing. That's no lie. And for $30, again, it's one of those no-brainer pedals. Even if you just want to try it out, it's worth trying, and it's on my board. However, this is my open slot. This is my flexible slot, and this is probably where I would put, if I did buy that Boss pedal, it would go here. Because to tell you the truth, with this pedal, I can get just about everything that I want. And but this one is nice icing on the cake. Or if I didn't buy the Boss IR200, the other pedal that would go here is also in the same Fender line. It's the same series. It's their fuzz pedal. I've heard a couple of demos of it, and on a couple of my tracks, like Funky Good Time off my last album, Masanoki. You can buy it on cheap plug. You can buy it on Bandcamp. Asanoki Ants in the Pantry. On the song Funky Good Time, I had a fuzzy kind, but not really fuzz. It was like bees in a bottle kind of fuzzy sound. And I heard a demo of the fuzz from this series, and I said, wow, that would replicate that on stage very well. And it's not expensive, and so that may go here. Ben Allmark, isn't that California pedal the one that beat out the JS Angle for you bike? Yes, it is. Yeah, it beat out the Angry Charlie. I just, like I said, you guys, for those of you who've been here for a while, you know this thing has evolved several times. It's always a shootout. The way I approach it is, hey, we're going to do a shootout here. We're going to see, does this work better? If not, I tried the JHS Angry Charlie, which is a $200 pedal, versus this $30 Joyo sound, and this one beat it out. The Angry Charlie was noisy. It had a bit of noise to it. This one does not. This one who's said to be a noisy pedal is not, and at least in this case, knock on wood, I'm glad that worked out. But But again, putting that Fender Fuzz here is an attractive prospect, because I have here the Tone City Heat that was, as you know, so kindly given to me. And I'm going to be frank with you. A couple of things about this Tone City Heat pedal, which I'm really thankful for. So thank you again for giving that to me. But it's a really great pedal. It's very versatile. Actually, between this Klon and this, I can get a lot of good tones out of those single coil Fender guitars that I'm playing these days. This really couples well with, I was trying it out with my humbucker guitars, and it was just too overpowering, but it really is really well designed to go with single pickups. And I think that also it's a quiet pedal. It's a great pedal. Try finding one of these days. I was blessed by being given this one, but you will not find these on Reverb. You won't find these anywhere. It was a small batch they made, and everybody who has one is really holding on to it because it's a great pedal. And over here is my AB switcher. Sometimes I like to run both the Fender Champ and 40 and my Laney at the same time. I like blending those two amps together. So if I did go live and I did take the amps with me, I'd have to take both of them, and I would really like to blend it like that and mic those up. So that's my pedal board as it stands right now. Whoa! No, I knew that was gonna happen. Oh, good. It didn't fall on the floor. Oh man. Tell you what, guys, let's put this here. Didn't hit the floor. Thankfully, I got a lot of padding down there. Yeah, that's my pedal board. As you know, it has evolved over the years. It will continue to, because you know, again. But if I do go live, and I do decide to do this live gigs, then this would be something that I would take with me. This and one of my guitars, one of my Strats at this point, and I could go to town with this. So there's that. All right. How's everybody doing out there? We have 9 people up and 5 likes. Don't forget to hit the likes, guys. I appreciate it. I almost had a small heart attack there because I knocked that neck over. But really, I've got a padded case right here and it landed on top of that. It sounded a lot worse than it was. I've got too much stuff on my desk because I have so many projects and I'm trying to organize it and keep it in mind, and I don't want to. That's something that I want to be careful of, but that's not the best spot for it. That's the second time I've knocked that. Fortunately, though, it's held up. I can't wait to use it. I really can't. It's going to need some reaming, really. I ordered some reams, 10 millimeter reamer for this because I didn't have the right size. So that's coming. Yeah. And also, I decided that with this build, I was thinking about doing this single humbucker configuration, but I actually got a deal on a humbucker only pre-wired that I bought off of Reverb. That's on its way. So I'm going to toy with that. I'm going to toy with the idea of which way I want to go with that. And so we'll see that. Well, I'll show that to you when it comes. Again, this is, let's put this here. That's a much safer, better place for that. Again, I'm toying with it, so we'll see. Mike, what do you use to power your pedal board? Well, this is the Power Station Nano. The Power Station Nano. It's not. I remember. I mentioned it before, and I said it was pretty expensive, but I remember that was in Singapore dollars. And after that live show, the last time I was asked about it, I decided to look it up. So if again I was asked about it, I can give some more information. And it's a Midland. It's like $70-$80. There is another one that looks like it, but it's not the same quality as this one. This one's actually pretty decent quality. Yeah, I think $80. And it's great. I've had it for years, and again it's a small print on my pedal board here. I can feed 10 guitars off this thing. Plus there's a one switch that I can do negative, plus negative on it. Positive, negative on it. So, or there's also a 12-volt plug as well if I want to run a pedal 12 volts, which some of these actually run better at 12 volts. Actually, honestly, when you push them a little bit. So there's that. It's pretty cool, and I've had it for, man, it may be coming up on 10 years now, 8 years at least, 9 at least, yeah. And not a hitch out of it, not a problem. So check it out, the Power Station Nano. Yeah. So tonight's title, The End of a Golden Era for Private Gear Sales. Um, you know, again, I like to try to think about what I'm going to discuss and try to bring a lot of different things together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes I've got nothing. And I said, well, you got to come up with something, Mike, because it's going to be crickets otherwise. But thankfully, again, just chilling here today and watching YouTube on my outrageously huge TV. So I bought that TV because during the pandemic, going to theaters was out. We were on lockdown here, and I said, let me just buy the biggest friggin' TV I can buy and just do my own home theater kind of thing. And boy, I got to tell you, sometimes I think to myself, when people come over, they're like, geez, what's up with that big TV? Hey, Frederick, welcome. Glad that you're here. But as I was sitting there and watching NAMM in stunning 4K detail, an idea came to me, something to talk about. And in context of the end of a golden era for private gear sales. For a long time now, I've been talking about this storm, this convergence of events that is going to, who makes that nano? Mosky? Yeah, I'll tell you guys exactly who makes it. It's right here on the top. It's made by, okay guys, don't laugh, but I am going to have to put on my reading glasses to read this one. It's made by Musicom Lab. Musicom Lab. It's called the Power Station Nano. Yep. So yeah, it's worth it. If you can find them, it's 10 years old. I'm sure they still make them, but it's a small footprint. And I've had it again, and I've run it. And I've recorded albums with this. I've had it running constantly. Sometimes I've got to turn it off. This thing is a workhorse, and it's tiny. And I've had it for 9 years now. So if that's not enough of a testimony for it, then I don't know what is. As a matter of fact, I really hope that nothing happens to it because I don't know what to replace it with. Mosky's makes my fake Klon, and I'm impressed with it. Yeah, Mosky makes great ones. I had a Mosky pedal at one point. Yeah, I'm hip to that. Again, this Klon pedal was made in Los Angeles by a company that's defunct. These guys were trying to pump these out, and I guess it just didn't work. They were an electronics shop that sold a lot of stuff, but they were making these. And it was a 1-for-1 using really, and Gives confirmed that when he worked on it, it's a great Klon emulation of pedal, and it's actually the best one he's seen. And I agree. It's really all you need. Let me be frank with you. It's really all you need. If you got that in a good amp, you're good. I have to have readers to find my readers. Let me tell you something about, where are they? Let me tell you, the reason I don't, somebody said, well, why don't you just buy a better pair? Go down to the, the lens shop or the glasses shop and have them test your eyes and have a better pair made. I said, because they won't last a month. I buy these cheap 2 or 3 euro glasses because I guarantee you I'm going to step on it. I'm going to sit on it. I'm going to lose it, not know where the heck I put it for days, And that's the thing. That's the worst thing about your eyes going on you as you get older, is because you have to count on those things. I should have done LASIK when I had the chance. But the NAMM thing really brought home to me the title of this live stream tonight, The End of a Golden Era for Private Gear Sales, because I know that it's a consumer based deal with NAMM, But everything flows into the secondary markets, and everything has, cause and effect. Everything ripples from that. I started wearing blue light glasses that supposedly block out the glare on the iPad and TV, and they've been an eye saver. Yeah, been. I think with me and my insomnia, because I'm quite an insomniac, and I think that that is something that I need to look into. Is just trying to cut the glare, even just turning the stuff off, not even looking, because I find myself reading before I go to bed, and maybe even that's not the best thing. So. Blue light glasses, yeah, but again, I'll break them. Why spend the money on it? Because it's just gonna end up, underneath my shoe someday. I'm gonna go to sleep and they'll go on the floor next to my bed, and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll put my foot down, and that's it. I highly recommend them for all ages. Yeah, I'll check it out. Well, actually, I'm looking into some earplugs too. Cut out the sound at night. So a lot of things I'm trying to do that may be helpful as well. They're cheap. Okay, I will check it out. Um, Believe me, I will check it out. I'm listening. I used to say, yeah, I'll do it, and then sometimes I wouldn't. But these days, I'm basically trying just about everything that's recommended me. Again, it's going through my filter, just like this pedal board. But I will try it. So if it comes across, I'll say, hey, I'll give this a shot. It was recommended to me. Usually, use margins throughout the decades. And we can stretch this back to where the used market, guitar market, really took off with guys like Norm in Ventura, in that area of Southern California, back in the mid 70s. And then the advent of a lot of the more New York, East Coast based music stores making their presence known in the West Coast. And generally, from that time forward, used margins were within 30 to 40% of new. Sometimes 50% if you took it into the shop, like now. Now is not the time to take your guitar into a guitar shop because you're looking at 50% margin. Maddie Two Hats in the house. Slept in today. That's good. I slept in this morning. Again, Sunday. Even my dog, she was looking at me like, hey, we should get going. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting there. And that's how it usually went. And then for the various reasons we've discussed before, we've seen that in the secondary markets, that's been kind of disrupted. Now, disruptions in general, and by the way, we've all experienced abnormalities from those prices. Sometimes we've walked away buying something from a pawn shop or a garage sale or even a guitar shop for an astounding small percentage. So that does happen. But generally speaking, it's 30 to 40%, 50% if you take it in to sell. That's been the way it's gone since time began. Yeah, man, my cat woke me up. Yeah, well, I've got two of them. And Eddie, God bless him, he'll sit there and he'll sit here next to me on my, in the bed, and he'll just look at me. And I can, even with my eyes closed, I can feel those little beady cat eyes. He's like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Oops, my portable light died on me. But yeah, I think that that's been blown out of the water because a lot of cats got into buying guitars. We've talked about this. And they generally, what would happen is a lot of this stuff would sit in the closets, and people would say, 10 years later, oh, we're doing a garage sale, let's get rid of it. And that's how that stuff would get into the secondary market. And then the internet came about and the prevalence of Reverb and eBay and things like that, and that altered the market a bit. Anthony, man, long time no see. Yeah, brother, very good. Watching football, yeah, Uncle Carlton. I was thinking about giving him a call today to see how he's doing, but I remember it's football time, and I don't want to get cussed out, so I'll have to give him a call another time. But yeah, dig that. Um, and these guys got these new players and new folks got into the market again, and they started asking 10% or the same price that they paid for it. And they flooded Reverb and eBay and all the secondary markets with this stuff. And it caused an imbalance in the ecosystem. Well, it did. No difference than, you heat the water up, it produces too much algae, which kills the sea life off. It's a chain reaction. And it is a unique chain reaction. I think people downplay and underestimate how giving a bunch, especially in most of some of the Western countries, giving people free money while they were told to sit at home and not go anywhere and do anything but order online led to a very unique situation, which again heated up the ecosystem, and it's causing secondary effects that aren't so positive. Because now these guys, NFL is rigged. That's cold, man. Enjoy your game, but it's rigged. Although I'm watching it too. Yeah. I tell you, man, I was watching that Beckham documentary on Netflix. And man, some of those kicks, I don't care if people say that European football is rigged or not, getting away from the NFL. But I have to say, honestly speaking, that some of those kicks that he placed are a phenomenal, amazing thing to behold. Just mind blowing, the skill that David Beckham had. This is the second time I've mentioned the Beckhams recently, but it's a couple that I'm really impressed with on both sides, and both of them. And especially David Beckham. I think he's really something. He's somebody to be admired. Sometimes it seems scripted. Yeah, way too much to be made. Yeah, dig that. It's just like the World Wrestling Federation. I actually promoted that when I was in Japan. I was working with a guy who had a company called ACTV that later on became the Fox affiliate there in Japan, and we had wrestlers over. We had Stacy Keibler. We had quite a few people, and we also had that guy who murdered his wife and child and then committed suicide. I talked to him for I can't think of his name right now. I can see his face, and it's clear as day. And when I was talking to him, and he was really wanting to get with the fans. His whole thing was, I really want to spend time with the fans. I want to be with the fans. When are we going to get with the fans? And he was really focused on that. And then to hear later on what he did, I was like, wow, man, I talked to that guy for a couple of hours when we were going around on that bus. Deep, but yeah, I knew that stuff was scripted too. So why wouldn't the NFL be on a bigger scale? It's plausible. But these abnormalities and these things that have caused disruptions in the market. Uh, Now, most used stuff isn't worth half of what you think it is. It's just not. And we all want to place a value on something, a physical item, but we also try to place intrinsic values on them when the reality only supports the value of the physical item itself. And so a lot of your used stuff isn't worth half of what you think it is. Only a handful of only a handful of brands hold their value somewhat. And even fewer of that will fight the value of inflation every year, going up about 10%. That's usually your vintage stuff. Oh, yeah, Chris Benoit. Benoit, whatever. Benoit, Chris Benoit, yeah. Yeah, it troubles me thinking about that and thinking about him. In my life, I think about him often, how, what would make a man do something like that? I know it was the steroids had a lot to do with, man, you juice up, and it's going to have an effect on you, on your brain. You're going to have mood swings, and you're going to go through all kinds of stuff. But boy, yeah, I spent a whole afternoon with him and Stacy Keebler, and man, she was fine. And Bill too. Well, and a couple of other wrestlers. It was fun times. Most of these prices also in this disrupted ecosystem that I speak of tonight lead most people who are in the market to buy when looking at the used prices and say to themselves, well, hell, why would I spend this much on a used guitar when I could buy a new one and get a warranty with it? Instead of buying somebody's secondhand problems, at these prices and the way they're structured right now, it actually makes more sense to buy new. Again, a disruption in that ecosystem. When you have people who are out there looking at the used market and saying, hey, there's not much difference between these and new, you have a problem there. Mickey, I don't think most gear now is worth the new price. Yeah. Well, that's a separate subject. but yeah. No, not at all. Again, man, we've talked about getting back into some pedals. I was looking at the prices on them, and I'm like, no way. And not even that. I mean, the guitar, we're still tripping off those $1,000 pickups, And I've pondered upon that for a little while now since we talked about that, and I still have no idea who those pickups are for. I really don't. I don't. I can't think of any scenario where anybody would be interested in buying those. And yet they sold out, but I know it was scalpers who bought them. But, we'll see how far they get with that. Good luck with that one. It's certainly not worth $1,000. Ben Allmark, I doubt I'll ever buy new again. Wish I never bought any new to begin with. Yeah, I can dig that. There's some things you gotta buy new, like the Squier 40th anniversary. I could have waited around to buy that used, but actually, if you look on Reverb and a couple other places, at least here in Europe, they're not for sale. You can't find them. I really was digging that Squier Classic Vibe 70 Strat and Natural, but good luck trying to find one of those. So that was one of those situations where you kind of had to buy new if you wanted to check it out. But generally speaking, yeah, I can understand that. So why would I buy secondary market stuff when I can buy it new with a warranty and I'm not buying somebody's problems, hidden or otherwise? So it became kind of an end of the era as online sales and the internet started to dominate things. And just as a reminder, there's a whole, I mean, I've touched upon this, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but there's so many aspects of this that touch so many aspects of this business. It's astounding to me. And that's that then, uh, in the early days and up until recently in the used market, well, not even recently, I would say 5, 10 years ago, maybe more, 15 years ago, there was more people willing to play together. In other words, there were more bands. It was the idea of creating beats alone in your, bedroom. Still hadn't quite taken off yet. And there was still kind of a sort of a vibe of let's put a band together 15, 20 years ago. And I submit to you that once that kind of died away and the beats in the bedroom guy took over, that really put a nail, one of the nails, there are many, into the coffin of private gear sales. Because that pool got smaller. That pool of people got smaller. There were more live venues. It's another thing I talked about that touches on this and why I think that that golden era of gear where I could get stuff. We all of us have told our stories about, oh, I got this back in the day, and this was, and they had more of that. I had a friend of mine write me and said there's actually, in his opinion, he says in the UK right now, in the used market, there's not a whole lot available. There's kind of a little bit of a shortage there. And I found that interesting. I said, oh, really? Maybe there's an opportunity. He told me, well, there's some opportunity here. Okay, maybe there's an opportunity there for me. But in any case, there's very few live venues, and therefore you don't have the guys putting the bands together and buying their gear, which, let's be honest, unless they're come from wealthy families, they're going to be buying that on the secondary market. Again, that pool shrinks. And also the stuff that they say, okay, let's trade this and get something else. That trading, that talk about the velocity of money. When a guy makes $1, he spends it at the gas station. The gas station guy spends it to his vendor spends it on his mistress. The velocity of money. Well, the velocity of gear is kind of the same thing. And so that slowed down that velocity in the gear market. Again, another thing that made it not what it was. There were more current mainstream music on the radio that was guitar oriented during those times than there is now. Again, I talked about that as well. I mentioned that, and that again shrinks that pool down. And the last one, guitars were way cooler then. One of the reasons, it was so much said so many times, it was a cliche, is that I took up the guitar to get girls, Or, on TV shows, you'd see the guy playing guitar in the park and he's got some girl, got the girls with him, but in a way it was kind of true, Back in the day, oh, he plays guitar, oh, really? There was something to it. There really was. I can't, and again, it was because of all of those social factors, the music, the clothing, the era itself, And so it was considered to be a cool thing to be a guitar player. Not so much anymore. As I've said before, and the guitar player is becoming like, the janitor of the instruments in a studio. I mean, it's just getting less and less popular, that pull. So that golden age, the way I remember it, the way a lot of you guys remember it, is gone. And I don't think it's coming back. Sure, things are selling. I'm not saying that things aren't selling. I'm saying that things aren't selling and working the way they used to. And that the value, I told you, everything comes down to a value proposition. And there's no value proposition going on right now in the used market. So much so that it's leading most people who are interested in buying new, and then just those people who say, I don't want to even buy new, screw it, I'm good. So you got back to I'm good somehow. And so that really is an end to that era. And the way it used to, the way I remember it, was it good? And people were a lot happier then too. It seemed, I don't know. It's like you watch a movie like Wayne's World. Again, I keep going back to that movie, but it's a great snapshot into understanding. Mike Myers really captured the vibe of that small town record store, or those musicians just hanging out in the basement kind of thing. And so many of the tropes that you find in that movie, again, there's cliches, but they're true because they're based on real vibes, and that does not exist anymore. I don't even in the new trope. What they are anyway. So there's that. So that's why I submit to you guys that it was the end of a golden era, but the era, in my opinion, died 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And it really does make you, it's good, especially if you're in the camp of I'm good, because you're going to say to yourself, okay, I don't like either proposition, buying new or used, I'm good. Or I will think of ways where I will shed a few pieces and use that money in order to buy something else. And it makes you very frugal and very streamlined as well. It's never a bad thing to just say, you know what, I'm good. Right now with this pedal board, I'm good. I don't need the Boss IR 200. I could do what I want to do right now as it stands. So, and it would be another. It's funny that you talked about the Charlie Brown with his California sound. Again, here I am thinking about the Fender Fuzz, and we're doing another shootout with that one to see if it's worthy or not to take this one's place. And it may not be. and in my mind, there's no guarantee. I've heard demos. Again, the YouTube videos are great. But, when the rubber hits the road on your pedal board, your outcome may not be the same or better or equivalent. It's a crapshoot. And sometimes I'm like, why bother? I'm good. Why bother? And we are eternal tinkers, musicians, especially guitarists, but especially guitarists. I don't know of any keyboard players who are too much of tinkerers, unless you were Robert Moog. But other than that, no. Yeah, dig that. What are you guys drinking out there? I'm drinking probably the worst grapefruit juice that I've ever had. I like to try to push the vitamin C in the wintertime. And I bought this from the store today and said, hey, grapefruit juice. Let's change up. Pink grapefruit, let's change up from my usual. Boy, that is not a flavor for me. But I guess it's good for me. I hope so, because it, when they say good medicine tastes bad, well, that's that. um, where are we at here? By the way, let me check here and see how we are doing here. Okay, added two hats. Iced coffee. Yeah, iced coffee. I got into that here. Again, I only like the coffee here and in Japan. In Japan, the water is soft. The water over here is hard, so go figure. Coffee. Boy, it's morning time somewhere. Actually, coffee, you can have that any time of the day. But iced coffee, I got into that here. Actually, the way that I have it's mostly milk with a dash of coffee, but and ice. But yeah, I like that. Um, Somebody the other day was talking to me. Oh, my barber. That's who it was. My barber was talking to me. And he asked me how my record was doing. Because he kind of dug it. He liked it. He actually bought a copy of it. I was very happy about that. Just because during the time I was working on it, he asked me what I was working on. I said, I'm working on an album, and just went from there. And he actually bought it. But he said to me, how's it doing? I said, these days sales aren't really there. Even if you look at major artists, they're doing everything but making music. I haven't seen Rihanna do a song until just recently, and even that is for a TV commercial in years. Pharrell Williams is a spokesperson for a clothing line, and none of them make music. Again, the music industry, other than touring, really is not paying for anybody right now. But that's a subject for another day. But he said, and I told him that, and he said, I discussed all those things. He's fascinated by it because it's something, he's a barber. Not to say that barbers can't be musicians. I'm sure many were, but in his case, he's really just a barber. It's what he digs doing. He's really good. So, but he's fascinated with it, and I explained it to him. He said, "Well, why bother?" Speaking of why bother, he said, "Why bother? Why do it?" Music has always walked the precarious thin line between being the answer to life and a secondhand interest you can indulge in when you have surplus money. And you kind of fall into those two camps. For me, music was something that even as a young child, I always knew that's what I was going to do. Um, Oddly enough, I always knew that I was going to be I also, as a secondary thing, saw myself as being a writer. Interesting two industries, written books and music that aren't paying anymore. So you really gotta love it if you do it. But honestly, it was in my blood. It was that answer to life. Why do it? Why not do it? Well, sometimes the point I'm trying to get to is that in my case, I had and I've had no choice in some regards. The song on my my last album, the one before this one, Monica Butterscotch. In the lyrics, I'm kind of talking about that. I'm talking about how once you spend all your time composing and you get caught up in and you touch into that radio station, that frequency, that thing that where you start to download all this music, it sort of comes at you and you feel the need to put it out. In my case, countless, countless thousands of songs I've written over the decades. The ones that got released went out on 6 albums. I've done television commercials, scored a film that unfortunately never got off the ground, but the music was there. And it was all because it was flowing through me and I couldn't resist it. So in my case, I could really say it was the answer to life. It gave my life purpose, direction, and focus. And also I am still tuned into that frequency. It hasn't stopped. I still hear music. Even though I'm not recording these days, I still hear an idea for a song. Somebody will say something, I'll be playing a riff and I'll say, hey, what if I put this with this? You know, you can't really turn it off. And you never will. I never will be able to. But in my experience my professional experience in the music business, I had to admit to him that I've been treated like a nobody and at the same time as a threat. And what do I mean by that? You know, when you're working in LA, you got to have an ego the size of Godzilla and skin thicker than oak to make it, you know, because it's ugly. You know, I was more R&B orientated during the 90s because there was a lot of money there and, you know, I could do the music. And there's a famous story of once Sheila E. And Prince stopped that particular tour where she was the opening act, they fired the band, which included members of Tony, future members of Tony. They fired the band and they gave them all job applications for McDonald's. Okay, I don't know, you know, and I can tell you some similar things in rock, but nothing as ugly. You know, some is directed towards a particular player, but not everybody. It's like, you know, you guys are fired, and by the way, here's our applications. Like somehow somebody thought that was funny. My suspicions it was probably Prince, since he was paying for the whole thing anyway. Not very funny. Not very funny. Kind of nasty and ugly. But that about sums up what I mean when you're treated like a nobody. Some of those guys went on to become Tony, which we all know. Everybody knows at least one or two of their songs. And then the way they treated each other, to where it started out as a group. Everybody thinks of Tony as 3 members. It was a band. And all the members of the band contributed to their records. But the 3 principals went to the record label and got contracts signed that made them the principal songwriters, which therefore made so that the labels were only giving them the money. And they cut everybody else out after that first album. All the original guys. The keyboard player, the guitar player, you know, that lay your head on my pillow guitar riff, that guy, he got fired, you know. Keyboard player, they have, you know, a lot, you know. And the original bass player, and which was not Raphael Saadiq. So they treated them badly. And then one of those principal guys got rid of the other 2, where he now controls the name Tony. See, it was a series of screwing each other over and getting treated like a nobody, but at the same time like a threat. You know, lots of situations where I'd walk in and I was working with this girl who was doing demos for Elektra. And I was doing demos with her on an 8-track that I had at a time, or a rack-based 8-track, ADAT, and doing overdubs and bounces and getting that 8-track to sound like a full 16-track production, doubling up on a lot of stuff. And I had the bass was a difficult thing when I was overdubbing, so I came up with a lick and I repeated 8-bar parts of it, and that's how I went with it. And when we took it, she played it for some guys who were also writing demos for it. None of their stuff was of this level, sounded this good. It had like a Sade kind of vibe to it, the music that I did. And the first thing they said, oh, that bass line is not working. I don't like that bass, And that was one of the best parts about it. And they weren't willing, and the knowledge of the fact that none of them could come up with a track that full sounding on an 8-track, first of all, none of them. And second of all, they were just hating on it. And it caused her to feel, oh guys, listen to this, I really like this. And they'd start crapping on it, in front of me. And I kept quiet. I said, because I always said, let the work speak for itself. You guys show me something better, and they never did. They never did. But again, like I said, those have been the experiences, and I could, you wouldn't expect them to, but anyway, I won't tell that story. But just that kind of treatment. Why bother? Somebody asked me, why bother? And so in my experience, I've been treated like a nobody and a threat at the same time. That was a day-to-day experience working in the studios in LA. You either were a nobody or you were a threat. And you had to deal accordingly from that. Why bother? Because I never cared. I don't know if I have a thick skin or if I'm just stupid. like, you know what they just said? I really don't care. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm trying to do this right here. Or I would say again, wouldn't say anything. Hey, you got something better? Let me hear it. And 9 times out of 10, they didn't. Matty Two Hats. I've had these experiences too, but I work alone now, which is awesome. Yeah, but that's what happened. So it drove me to work alone. Fantastic, Mike. You can play the bass, guitar, mandolin, drums, keyboards. You can sing. You can spin teacups on your fingertips. Great. But again, it's not getting into the collaborative times like I had when I was sitting with my Japanese band, and I was like on Strolling with the Moonlight, I was sitting on the keyboard and I played it, and I said, okay, Tanaru, I want you to play this on bass and give me this kind of beat on the drums, and Keigo, play this riff, all just playing the parts on the keyboard, and then them putting their little thing on it and coming out with a lovely record. If you haven't heard my song Strolling in the Moonlight, take a listen to it. Mike McWilliams, Strolling in the Moonlight. You'll find it on iTunes or Spotify. Beautiful song. Beautiful song. And I jam in bands when I need the social too, yeah. And I miss that. I got to the point, I'm not ashamed, I'll speak praise Prince and I'll knock him down like that. That stuff with the McDonald's applications was not cool. But I do admire the fact that he could work alone. He didn't, even the engineering part. He could do it all, and I always aspired to that, and I got to that point where I could do that myself. And but I don't see that as a positive, to tell you the truth. And there are times when I was working on that record that I did want to get on the phone and reach out to certain musicians, but I just didn't want to, because I didn't want to get into that back and forth. Me, if somebody calls me up and says, could you do this? Like Jock would ask me, hey, could you play on this? Could you put something on this? Could you write something on this? I said, fine, send it over. And I would do it, but not a lot of people I'm finding are that easygoing about it. So I just don't feel like dealing with it. Why bother? Again, why bother? Well, again, if you're driven to it, then so be it. If you fall into that other group, indulge in it when you have the surplus money, well, okay. I think that that's actually a lot more funner way of approaching it because you don't have the deadlines. You got to have this 15 minutes, this 15-second spot done in 2 hours. You don't have those kind of pressures when you're sitting there strumming in your bedroom. And you're a lot freer too. You don't have the drummer is pissed off because this old lady says that you were making googly eyes at her. You don't have to deal with that kind of stuff, or the manager is telling such and such that he's got a better band that he should come over and play in that band. You don't have to deal with that stuff when you're just strumming in your bedroom. Many two hats, but here's the thing. There is no money either, so everyone is expected to multi-skill. Thank you. And that was the other thing that drove me to it. Although, to be frank with you, as I pointed out before, the budgets with TV commercials, at least it was until COVID, and AI music, the budgets on those were great. And it's just pure greed that inability that made me not want to share on that one. I was expected to do all the work or to finance all the work, and it just so happens that I can do all the work. I'm one of those guys. But yeah, there is that. The shrinking. But again, that shrinkage that has hot sun on the water, causing algae, causing this fish to die off. It has that kind of ecosystem effect. Bring down those budgets, and the big studios, and even the big studios will always be there to some extent, but the middle size and smaller studios start to close up. So that's been my music business experience. If I were to sum it up, that I was both treated like a nobody and a threat on certain times. Times I was treated like a threat is when I did walk in the room and I could deliver, and there was somebody who wanted that spot too. Well, that's natural human nature, but some people would just play dirty and try to do little dirty schoolboy kind of things, and that always pissed me off. I never appreciated that. And also, I guess, me too. Again, like I said part of that you have to have a thick skin, but you also have to have an ego. Of course, I have an ego to a certain extent. You gotta have an ego if you're going to do this to some extent. You can be like Smokey Robinson, like I always said. I always like Smokey. Smokey everybody knows Smokey, but he's not a dick. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. I met him twice. I recorded him. I did a recording session with him. And I always keep in the back of my mind, you can have your ego and know you're good. He has his ego where he knows he's good and he knows his place and his value, but he's not a dick. So, of course I have an ego, and another woman was talking to me in one of these shops, and she said, "Oh, my boyfriend's a musician. I'm going to tell him about you and have him look you up, And I was thinking to myself, well, if he's a musician, then, maybe he'll look me up, maybe he'll dig it. Or it's going to fall into one of those two categories, treat me like a nobody or a threat. The treated like a threat thing, Matty Two Hats, the treated like a threat thing is wild. You come and do your parts great, and then someone else is jealous of it. Yeah, it never faces. You think, oh, cool, I got this session, I'm going to go sit down, and lay this part down, and you've got somebody there who's just, you know, as they say, you know, in the South, in their feelings. Smokey is a legend for many reasons. Yeah, I kid you not, guys, when I say this. That the aura of beauty shines from him. You know, he's a beautiful. Marvin Gaye said Smokey Robinson is a beautiful cat, and I think that really just sums it up. He's a beautiful cat, if you can understand that, if you can dig that. And so he's always been that inspiration to be to acknowledge my abilities, but to never make them think that they make me better than, you know, somehow superhero like or something like that, depending upon the situation. Or for me to not hear somebody else that's obviously doing it better and not say, hey man, that was great, as opposed to, well, you know, that bass line's a little repetitive, you know. Fuck you. Excuse me, guys, but that one still makes me mad because I remember her face. Her face just kind of fell. And I was thinking, man, you jackasses. So why bother? I guess at the end of the day, like I said, it's because you have the desire to do it and you're not going to let those obstacles get in your way. And you develop a thick skin about it and you recognize it and you see it. And you either walk away from it eventually or you just deal with it. But it's called music business, not music happy fun camp, so there is that too. Something to keep in mind always. Very good, guys. We have made it through another live stream tonight. I see 10 likes and 17 viewers. If you other 7 folks could quickly hit the like button, I would appreciate it. Coming up this week, I'm going to talk about my Harley Benton bass. Actually, I set up my camera and my lights and the bass, tuned it up, polished it up, got everything set up to record. And I said, what are you doing? It's Sunday. You don't do this on Sunday. So if I put everything back, and I said, I'll try to get to it tomorrow if I have a moment, which I should. And so I will talk about that. I've had it for 3 years now. I've used it on recordings. And I really would like to put one out there, at least document me, what I think about it, how I felt about it, and why I'm completely happy with it. And so that's coming up. Wednesday we will do a live stream. Been still thinking about. I'm still thinking about titles, what to call it. You know, there was one suggestion like Wednesday Night Madness or something like that. There was one I really dug. I have to go back and take a look. But you guys will see me Wednesday for sure. And I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Again, we're building a community here. And this community starts with you. And if you like what you're hearing, if you like the content of this channel and the things that are coming out of it, join and become part of that community. We have a goal here this year to hit 5,000 subscribers. Hell, I didn't think I would get to 2,000 that I've got, 2,200 that I've got. So the idea of getting to 5,000 actually doesn't seem so far-fetched now, but that really starts with you. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe, join the community. I will see all of you guys hopefully this Wednesday between now and then. Please take care of yourselves and enjoy going into another week. I have to go to Frankfurt by train on Tuesday. Hope that the trains are running because it's a 4-hour train ride. I got plenty to do on it, keep myself entertained, but I just hope the trains are running. So I have that. I'll tell you how that goes on. I'll tell you how that. Maybe I'll stop at a music shop. Definitely, I'm definitely going to go to a music shop. So that may be coming up as well. So I'll tell you how that guy goes on Wednesday. Please take care of yourselves till then, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye.